If you're in pain because of breastfeeding, in this video, I will show you how to heal, how to treat, and how to prevent nipple pain. If you're new to my channel, my name is Gabrielle, and I talk about all things necessary for a blissful motherhood. Breastfeeding pain is a very common experience, especially in the early days, at the very beginning of breastfeeding. And when that happens, it is very frustrating because you want to continue breastfeeding your baby. I love breastfeeding my babies, and I want you to be able to continue and overcome this obstacle of nipple pain and just painful breastfeeding in general. So let's dive right into it. During this whole process, your hands must be clean, so wash your hands first before doing any of this. The first step that I recommend you take is applying the safe Lanolin cream. My favorite one is by Lanolin, and I recommend that you apply it after every breastfeeding session. The first thing you should do before applying that cream, though, is to keep your nipple and your breast dry. After you finish your breastfeeding session, dry your breast. And don't rub it, just pat it down with a very soft towel. And after that, apply the Lanolin cream. Be generous in your application and make sure to always wear a breastfeeding bra. Those are usually very soft so that the friction of the clothes doesn't hurt you more. Keeping your breast dry is very important because when they're wet, that irritates the skin and it dehydrates it, which worsens the pain. The second step that I recommend you take is using some soothing gel patches. Those should be applied after you dry your breast and after you apply the soothing Lanolin cream. My favorite ones were by Medela. I have them right here. And also Lanolin makes really good ones. Those are the best brands when it comes to breastfeeding. It's very important that the patches remain clean to avoid bringing germs into the breast area, which, if you're in pain, could be prone to infection. These patches are sterile. I'm going to show you how to apply it. I'm going to open it. It already has like a slit to open it. It comes with a little piece of plastic that you need to remove so that it sticks on your breast. So I'm removing it right now. And then you apply it on your breast. So this is the breast and you apply it right over the nipple. And it provides an incredibly soothing effect. You keep this on until the next breastfeeding session. You won't believe how much you're going to heal between now and then. These Lanolin gel pads can be applied in the same way. And you also keep them on until the next breastfeeding session. It'll provide so much rest for your breast. Some people recommend the use of breastfeeding shields when you start breastfeeding and you have nipple pain so that you can continue breastfeeding, but I personally do not recommend them. I used them when I started my breastfeeding journey with my son, and it was awful. They slipped all over the place. They became a biohazard, literally, because they get full of germs and they get really nasty. I truly do not recommend them. I feel you bring a lot of germs to that area, which makes everything much worse. Bringing germs into the area will only make things worse and make you prone to an infection. So always keep your breast area clean. Remember to always keep the area dry afterwards, so pat it dry and avoid using harsh soaps because that will only make things worse. If for any reason your breast still feels in pain after the time has passed and you need to breastfeed again, you might want to skip a session on that breast and continue with the other one. If both of them are in pain, I suggest you pump. Pumping will avoid the friction with the nipple, which is the main problem usually when you are breastfeeding and have pain. The milk you pump you can provide to your baby on a bottle. Make sure that baby bottle is especially for newborns. I recommend the brand Dr. Brown. It's the best one because it doesn't cause colic on babies. And make sure the flow is 0 so that your baby doesn't prefer the bottle instead of your breast. Because if the flow is too fast, babies become a little lazy when it comes to breastfeeding. And that is not good for your milk production. The next thing that I recommend to relieving breastfeeding pain is to make sure that you have a proper latch with your baby. When a baby is not properly latched, it will hurt you. And even when properly latched, sometimes it can be a little uncomfortable because your skin is not used to that pressure and to that friction that the baby causes when it is breastfeeding. To ensure a proper latch with your baby, his or her mouth must cover most of their areola, which is this darker part of your breast. And usually when you are pregnant or nursing, it becomes even darker, so it's easier to notice. I will make a video completely dedicated to latching, but for now I can tell you that to latch your baby correctly, make sure that your baby is opening its mouth nice and wide. It must pucker its lips wide open. I'll show you in this baby. See? So the upper lip is curled upwards and the bottom lip is curled down. When that happens, cup it like this and bring your baby towards it. And it's very important that it doesn't just grab the nipple, because that's going to be very painful. His face or her face must be perpendicular to your nipple to ensure a proper latch. So you might need to tilt his or her head a little bit backwards. That also ensures that your baby can breathe without problem. And his or her chin must not touching his or her chest. So if your baby for any reason is tucking his chin like this, that is not good for the baby. Always make sure that the head is tilted a little bit backwards and that the breast is perpendicular to the face, and that the baby is covering with its mouth most of your areola. That ensures that your baby is not producing too much friction on the nipple. If you didn't get a correct latch, it is very important to know how to unlatch correctly. Otherwise, it's going to be very painful to retire the baby from the breast. The correct way to unlatch your baby is the following. With your clean hands, using your pinky finger, you carefully insert it on the corner of your baby's mouth, careful with your nails, and you create a little pocket of air that way, which allows your baby to be removed from the breast. You should never tug your baby away from the breast, because that will hurt a lot. The suction that the baby is creating with the nipple will cause a lot of friction and a lot of pain on your nipple. If one of your nipples is bleeding or is extremely sore and cracked, try to use the other nipple more for breastfeeding, and the other one you'll have to pump. It usually takes just a few days, like 2 or 3 days, for it to heal enough for you to be able to breastfeed again. And as long as you're doing a proper latch, you should be fine. Using the patches that I just recommended, the gel patches, that will also provide a lot of relief. The next thing that you should take into account is the breastfeeding positions, which is the way you hold your baby. On another video, which I'll place at the end of this one, I talk about the breastfeeding positions. And I will also make a dedicated video on the breastfeeding positions to demonstrate them more fully with this baby. Try to experiment with several positions until you find one where the latch is the deepest. That will provide a lot of relief for your breast and for your nipples. Another problem that causes breastfeeding pain is engorgement. When your breasts get too engorged, it is difficult for the baby to latch, and the latch becomes shallow, which means that it's going to be hurting your nipple. So always before breastfeeding, if your breasts are too engorged, you should pump a little bit of that milk out if possible. If the milk isn't coming out easily, then I recommend that you use some hot-cold packs. The best ones out there are by Lanolin. These Lanolin hot-cold packs are amazing because they already have the shape of the breast. You can also make an at-home option by placing a bunch of rice in a sock and heating it up in the microwave. Just be very careful not to burn yourself. Always test it before putting it on your breast and before touching it. Try to make sure it's not too hot. But these are excellent because they already have the perfect shape for your breast. And you can use them hot or cold, depending on what you want to do. So here are the hot and cold packs. And I love that they come in a pair. So when you buy the box, it has 2 of them already. So you can use them on both breasts at the same time. They can be used after a breastfeeding session if you have some pain. In that case, they recommend you use them cold so you can put them in the freezer for a bit. Or you can use them warm to stimulate milk production. In the instructions, it tells you exactly how to warm them up and cool them down. The best thing is that they come with these little pouches, super soft cloth pouches that you can put them in so that the plastic is not in direct contact with your breast. You can put them on your breast, preferably this way, but you can also kind of move them around depending on where you feel the pain. And if you notice, they avoid the nipple so that it doesn't irritate your nipple if it's already in pain. This is for relieving pain in the rest of the breast. If your breasts are really engorged, these will be really handy to stimulate the milk production and to unclog the ducts. I also recommend you massage your breast softly and gently. You can massage your breast usually in circles, avoiding the nipple, and also kind of do this to unclog the ducts. And I found this amazing massager on Amazon that not only massages your breast but also reduces some heat, and it will provide wonderful relief. Another step you can take towards healing is using loose, comfortable clothes and avoiding fabrics that feel rough on the area. And I found something really interesting, which are nipple shields, but not for breastfeeding, but for when you're resting. So if you don't want to use the soothing gel packs, which I do recommend you use, they are such a relief, you can also use silver nipple shields. The silver nipple shields protect your breast from the friction against your clothing. So they are a huge relief, and silver is naturally antimicrobial. Just remember to wash them often and to keep them nice and dry before putting them on your nipples. Remember to take good care of yourself. You need proper nutrition and proper hydration so that your breasts and your nipples heal very fast and soon. Dry skin is one of the main reasons of breast pain and nipple pain. And by staying well hydrated, you will help not only avoid making the problem worse, but it will also increase your milk production. Remember that it might take a little time to heal. Sometimes it takes from 1 week to 2 weeks for the breastfeeding pain to go away when you have just started your breastfeeding journey. If you have this pain long after you started your breastfeeding journey, it usually takes 2 or 3 days to start healing. Sometimes it only takes 1 day when you're waiting in between sessions and using the nipple gel patches. Sometimes you'll feel a lot of relief just by skipping one breastfeeding session on that breast and using the other one instead. Remember to be patient and don't give up on your breastfeeding journey. Breastfeeding has so many benefits for your baby, and I know you would be sad to stop breastfeeding. I was really sad when I had to stop breastfeeding my son because of all the mistakes I made during breastfeeding. I had a very successful breastfeeding journey with my daughter. I breastfed her for 3.5 years and I could have gone longer. Remember that persistence is the key for a successful breastfeeding journey. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. If you're still in pain after taking all these steps, remember to reach out to your provider. I know that many mothers like me had no idea that breastfeeding is not easy and that you need to learn how to do it. I thought it was just a natural thing and that I would know right away the moment they gave me my baby after birth, but I was very wrong. And it was very frustrating because I went on YouTube and started looking for answers to all my questions on how to increase my milk production and how to get rid of pain and all of that stuff. And I truly couldn't find any true answers. I will be creating a full course on how to breastfeed so you have a very successful breastfeeding journey. Stay tuned, I will be launching it very soon. So I hope that I can help you with this course that I'm making and with these videos that I have created to achieve a successful breastfeeding journey so that you can breastfeed your baby for a long, long time. Thank you for all that have been subscribing. I am very grateful that you're following me and that you are liking my videos on breastfeeding. Please follow if you like this information. Comment below if you need any help.